Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our TEPSA Presents Member Spotlight series. I'm Todd Nesloni, your host, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at TEPSA. And I'm so excited this week to be talking with another member doing incredible things across the state of Texas, and that is Jaci Underwood. Jaci, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Hey, Todd, thanks for inviting me. It's the last week of school for us, so I am all smiles, but definitely some tired eyes. So I'm excited to be here with you. So I was thinking about my journey and what to share. I am so excited to tell you because I kind of have a fun story. So I started off as an 18-year-old student who had just graduated from high school, and I got a job with Lubbock ISD. And I was literally the girl who shredded the records. When you're in an ARD meeting and you talk about at the end of the 5 years, these records will be destroyed. That's what I did. I did anything and everything that I could get a job doing hourly. So I shredded records and I moved all the old eligibility folders around every summer. I worked with diagnosticians. I did anything. And that's where I started. Now I am the proud principal at Preston Smith Elementary in Lubbock ISD. In between, I've been a 4th and 5th grade teacher. I've been a middle school assistant principal, elementary assistant principal, all over the place.
I love it. Well, Jaci, part of the conversation that I love to have is, at some point in your educational career, you thought that school building leadership might be in your lane. Well, how did that come about for you? Was it something you kind of were inspired by yourself or somebody else encouraged you?
So my whole life, I always wanted to be a teacher. I had amazing teachers. I am a dyslexic, a functioning adult, but I struggled in school. And I had some amazing teachers early on who realized I was being raised by a single parent. I was not from the traditional family, and they invested in me and made a difference. And so I always wanted to be a teacher. Um, During those days of me starting out early, doing anything and everything for a job to get my foot in the door, I had an absolutely incredible principal who hired me for my very first teaching job. His name is Dr. Glenn Teal. He's a superintendent near Abilene. He's an incredible person, and I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to bring that energy and that passion and that love. And I started asking him just a couple of years in, what do I need to do? How I want to be like you. And that's where jump started everything that I am today.
I love that so much. And I love when there's a particular individual
Mm-hmm.
who really played a big part in that path. Well, Jaci, we also like to share different tech tools every week from our members because whether it's a personal tool we use or a professional one, tech is a part of our lives. So
Yes.
what's a tool you would like to share today?
So I feel so boring because my counselor was here at school just a little bit ago, and she's like, "What do you have to talk about?" And I was telling her some of the questions, and I said, "I don't have anything cool to share. I feel like everything that I use is what everybody else uses." We are a Google district. I live and breathe by Google on my phone, every extension, every app to do everything on my phone, on my laptop, on my computer. I've got like 6 different Google interfaces going. My Google Calendar, my reminders, everything through that. And then in Canva too, everybody uses Canva now. There's a great new feature in Canva, and I should have looked up what it's called. But basically, if I need to write an email, and I'm just going to say it about a kid who had a pooping accident or a potty accident, whatever it may be, you can go in Canva and you can type that, and it makes it sound wonderful and nice and kind and professional. So those are just 2, but everybody uses those. So I don't.
Well, but I think what happens is because everybody uses them, sometimes we don't go back in and look at some of the new updates that are there. Because like even with Google, like I feel like every time I open a doc or a form or something, I'm like, oh, I can do this now.
Yes.
Oh, or in my calendar, I can add this feature. So I think there's always these untapped pieces. So I think even though it sounds simplistic on the surface, I think reminding that those are 2 tools that I agree with you. I could not do my job without all my Google Suite as well as Canva. I think those are great to share.
Yes,
Well,
for sure.
in addition to those, Jaci, we always love to think about how we're building up the culture where we work. So whether that is an idea that you've participated in or one you've led, what is a culture idea you'd like to share today?
So culture, I love trying to work on the culture because culture is ultimately what hooked me into my very first
Mhm.
principal and made me continue teaching, um, because it was hard. It wasn't
Obviously.
always easy. And he's that person. So I love culture. I remember my very first TEPSA summer conference. I sat in the grand ballroom at the Renaissance Hotel and listened to you, Todd. And I had my notebook and I was writing like everything that you talked about when I was an assistant principal for the very first time. Because as an assistant principal, I got to impact that, but I
Mhm.
wanted more. And this was a while ago. This is before, there were so many social media pages where we
Yeah.
could share our ideas. So Todd at summer conference was like my bank of knowledge.
Oh my
Kevin Tutt
goodness.
and all his music and his songs. So I don't, I'm always looking for something. And I was thinking about this question because I've been a principal at a couple campuses now, and I feel like every year, and certainly when you walk into a new place or you've got a lot of new staff, I don't know that there's just a one size fits all that you can say
Mhm.
this is the one thing I need to do. So I always try to get to know my staff. One thing, the campus that I'm at now, it's a great place. It's a highly functioning, efficient, top performing campus. But the physical layout of my school, we have two very distinct sides, and my office and the library are like the middle. And that was one thing I noticed, was that my intermediate grades and my primary grades actually never even saw each other. They
Mhm.
have their own staff restrooms, they have their own hallways, and they never saw each other. Um, and I feel like if we have to be a family, even if
Mhm.
there's 85 of us on campus, we still have to be a family. So one thing that we did this year, and this is super simplistic, but we created family teams, and we mixed up people from paraprofessionals to people on my admin team, to people who worked in special education, to assistants, all the way to my fifth grade, GT, dyslexia interventionist, and we mixed them as much as humanly possible. And so we created family teams, and we started from the very beginning when we came back in August, just silly things to do with your family team. Taking pictures, scavenger hunts, get to know yous, even some tasks that we just needed to do, going through and holding each other accountable for reading all of our district documents and signing
Mhm.
off on those together and go get a Sonic drink together for bonus points. Then we took those family groups and we'll just randomly remind people, hey, have you reached out to your family group? Sometimes when we've had PD days or anything, we would do, silly challenges or games, but you had to do it with your family groups.
Mhm.
Then when we got to the stressful part of the year in testing, I would ask them, family groups, to write each other letters, to pop by and give each other a fist bump or a high five on those testing days. And so that's been super, super simple. It is not my themed games, contest, points
Mhm.
over the top, but I've loved the impact. And today, one of my quiet pre-K teachers, and she's in my family group, she had a cute little note written. It's our new theme for next year, our school theme, and she put a Starbucks gift card on there and told, to my family group, I hope you have a sharp summer, grab a coffee, can't wait to see you in August. So it was cool.
I love that so much. And it's such a neat way to just get to know people as people, which
Yes.
is such a huge part of the culture building. So, such great advice. Well, Jaci, throughout these conversations, there's always great leadership advice we can gain from each other. So, what's a piece of leadership advice you have today?
I'm a people person. I love people. I feel like I can tell you my very first year that I crossed over from assistant principal to principal role, I felt like I had to be the one in charge and
Mhm.
I had to know the answers and I had to figure everything out on my own. And I really, truly almost left education that year. And so it's pretty simplistic too, but don't do it alone. Um, I was a brand new principal. I did not feel like I could ask the questions I felt like I was supposed to know, whether it be budget or parent communication or working with a struggling teacher or staffing. And I struggled so much that year. So, my number one piece of advice to brand new people is find people that you can ask questions to, ask them the questions, be vulnerable, know that nobody knows. And then to my my friends who are out there who have been sitting in the principal seat for a little while, the minute there's a new principal in your district or your region or in neighboring towns, reach out to them.
Yeah.
We have some great little text groups now, and we had a new principal named last week. And so like we brought him into one of our text groups this week, and we're like, hey, we're glad you're here. We can laugh, we can cry. I said, but really, we're just typically confused. And so ask us the questions, we'll all be confused together. So my advice is have unity.
Yeah.
Reach out to each other. Don't be afraid to ask questions, support each other. We did that when we were teachers.
Mhm.
We do that with our assistant principals, and I adore mine. She's the best ever. But there's got to be that sometimes just another building, another campus to talk to them and be real and
Yeah.
share and help each other.
Well, and I think that was such beautiful advice for experienced leaders to reach out to newly hired administrators and welcome them into the fold. I think that is such easy to do, great advice. Well, Jaci, it has been such a pleasure getting to chat with you. If people want to connect with you some more, are you on social media anywhere?
So I am not a Twitter girl, Todd. I've shared this with you before.
I said any social media.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a Facebook. So find me on Facebook. My district loves Facebook. So if I'm ever on social media, very late at night or sitting, waiting on something, I'm always looking to tell my school story. So we're Smith Elementary and Lubbock ISD. And of course, I have my own page, but I typically just share my twins because people with twins are really cool, Todd.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Well, Jaci, thank you so much for coming on. And we thank everybody for listening or joining another episode. We hope to see you all at our upcoming summer conference at the Kalahari Resort, June 7th through 9th. It is not too late to register and join over 2,000 leaders from across the state. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again for our next TEPSA Member Spotlight.